Okay, fine. So, hello and welcome to the LexWave YouTube channel in the continuation of the series Unfiltered Law School. I, Sristi Bhardwaj, welcome you all. And today we have Advocate Vidit Deswal with us. I welcome you, sir, on the behalf of LexWave and my whole team. So, and I would like to share with my audience that currently, sir is a barrister and solicitor uh, in the Bar Association of Ontario. And I welcome you, sir. So kindly introduce yourself.
Uh, Thank you, Sristi, for that introduction. It's my pleasure to be here. You have clearly provided an stellar introduction for me, and thank you very much for that. So, as you said, I'm an advocate in India, and I'm also a licensed barrister and solicitor in Canada here. I'm licensed with the Law Society of Ontario, and I became a licensed here in 2023. And since then, I've been practicing law in the Greater Toronto area.
Okay, so thank you so much, sir, for this brief introduction. And I would like to tell my audience that sir is also enrolled with the Delhi High Court Bar Association, and he is an alumnus of University of Toronto, University of Delhi, ILI, and the Indian Society of International Law. So, sir, we'll start with the session. So, I would like to ask you that from where you have completed your graduation and post graduation.
Yes, Shishi. So I started my undergraduation in 2013. I attended that university. My college was Ramjas College. I completed my Bachelor's of Science in Physics honors from there in 2016. And that was a wonderful time. It was some time ago. And then after completing my graduate undergraduation uh, from this, I straight away in 2017 went in and started my law school from Faculty of Law, University of Delhi. Uh, then I stayed there for another 3 years. I studied law, completed my LLB in 2020, and that's when I, uh, you know, gave the, I believe it's still called the All India Bar exam. So I gave the AIBE in 2020 and I became enrolled in the same year.
Okay, sir. So, what inspired you to choose law as a profession? Because you have done BSc in physics. So, why there was a switch from BSc in physics to law?
A very interesting question and a very long story, but I'll keep it short. So when I completed my BSc in 2016, like every parents want their kid to pursue civil services. My parents wanted the same for me. So I took 1 year gap of 1 year from 2016 to 2017, and I studied for civil services. I When I was studying for civil services, I became so interested in political science law that I instantly felt a deep connection to uh, the area of law. So I decided that it's probably better for me that I pursue law after completing my BSc, and it is something that's still open to me at that point of time. So I gave the entrance exam in 2017 for the Faculty of Law at Delhi University. I was I got good rank. I was very grateful that I was able to crack it in the exam in 2017. And once I did that, I was admitted into the Faculty of Law, and this was a no-brainer for me that I wanted to become a lawyer at that time, and that's how my law journey began.
That's wonderful, sir. So how was your experience during your LLB days from Delhi University and your LLM days from Jindal Global Law School?
My LLB was mostly in person. The big distinction between both of them is that my LLB was mostly in person, and my LLM was completely remote because of the COVID and the pandemic that happened. So I have fond memories of my LLB because it was in person. I was able to meet my professors, make new friends, and spend more time in the library than I could when I was doing my LLM. But at Jindal Law School, the course curriculum I feel that was very rigorous. Although it was for 1 year, was very rigorous, and it was something which kept me very busy during the COVID pandemic. So I was able to juggle practicing law and completing my LLM at the same time. So I kept myself busy like that. But the coursework for the LLM was very specific because I did LLM in corporate law, and which meant that I was very focused on the legalities of the corporate law. And in LLB, it was more general, where I had to do some subjects, where I had uh, not so much interest, but I had to complete those in order to pass.
That's really nice experience if we see. So what was the motivation that you have decided that I want to study in the University of Toronto? Why you have decided this?
Yes. So this thought actually came to me in 2019 when I was in the final year of my law school. I enjoyed my time thoroughly at the Faculty of Law. So I was very much convinced that I wanted to do an LLM. I wanted to pursue a master's at that time, and I started looking at different options, abroad and domestic. Right. So I looked at law schools in India, and I looked at law schools inside and outside India. So once I um, had the intention to do LLM, I started applying. I applied to many law schools across the globe, and I've also applied to many law schools um, in India. So what happened was that the first try I made, I was admitted in University of California at Berkeley, and the pandemic happened. Right. So uh, my plan actually got deferred. So I couldn't join the university in 2020. So I had to defer that to 2021. And at that time, I saw what was going in around the United States. There was there's an insurrection, the Donald Trump election happened, so on and so forth. And there was a general sentiment around immigrants, and that still persists till date, that the US has become little more or less friendly towards immigrants. And on the other hand, I saw Canada. Canada was bringing in record numbers of immigrants every year. It was more immigrant-friendly nation. So when I deferred my admission into University of California at Berkeley, I in the same year I reapplied to University of Toronto, and when I did that, I chose a different program. I didn't apply to the regular uh, theoretical LLM. I applied to the GPLLM, which is geared for professionals and people who want to complete their NC requirements. So this when I applied the second time at the University of Toronto, I got admitted, and when the admission letter came, I already had an appointment for the US visa, and then the letter came from the University of Toronto, and I had to make a decision that where do I want to go. I reached out to people who were at both universities, reached out to my family, my friends, and after listening to everybody, I came to this decision that it's probably better for my future and my ambitions to become an internationally trained lawyer to go to Canada. So I decided doing that, and once I did that, uh, I have I'm very happy with my decision. And looking back in retrospect, I'm very happy with my decision because I see what's going on in the United States currently, and how new students and current immigrants are being treated by
So
the Trump
according to
administration.
you, according to you, you have taken a wise decision of switching to Canada instead of US.
I think at that point of time, it was a wise decision, definitely. But things have also changed in Canada. Inside Canada, a lot of immigration changes have happened. And if you ask me frankly, if I was given this opportunity of going to US or Canada at that time, And right now, compared to uh, compared to 2021, I might have come to a different decision. But yes, that time it was the best decision to come to Canada for me.
So it's great that during the pandemic you have taken few decisions which are becoming fruitful right now and giving you a bright career. So that's good, sir. So could you please share your journey that becoming a dual qualified lawyer in both India and Canada? So what have you inspired?
Yes. It's a very different journey, I would say, to become a lawyer in Canada for internationally trained lawyers, particularly the Canadian law and the jurisdiction. Although it is common law, it is very different from the practice of law we have in India, right? Because the laws in India have diverged after independence so much that the common law practices and the principles don't apply um, exactly to the laws here in Canada and elsewhere in the world, even though all of them are considered common law jurisdictions. So it's been very difficult. In terms of academic, I had to relearn a lot of things, right? So I had to relearn a lot of legal jargons, legal principles, doctrines, and all that. And also, the focus here in Canada is mostly on professional responsibility compared to uh, what we have in India. So here we have when you do the bar exam for any, well, I wouldn't say any province, but particularly Ontario, the there's a huge focus on professional responsibility, and if you don't have strong ethics, you will not be able to clear the exam.
And so that was a wise decision that you have settled here in Canada despite of starting your career in India. So that is, I find it a good decision because as a student, as a law student right now, I have completed my LLM altogether. So I think that it is a must decision that you must go out, you must go abroad to have a better exposure. You may come back to India and also it makes a good impression and it altogether it makes a good personality, it carries out a good personality in you as a person. So what
I
were the
agree. I agree.
challenges? Yeah. So what were the challenges and learnings you have faced during the transition between two legal systems? What do you think that what are the difference between Indian legal system and the Canadian legal system? So as a student or as an advocate.
So, as a student, I wouldn't say there is a major difference. Uh, I would say as a student, at University of Toronto and at University of Delhi, we pretty much had the same sort of teaching method and the same set of well, the pattern of the examination was kind of similar. Where you were given mock cases, and then you had to analyze those mock cases, and then write an argument in for in against or for the case you have. So in that sense, it's pretty much the same, but the practice differs a lot here in India. We we have a lot of these pending cases, right? And then the cases keep dragging on. In Canada, you don't have something like that. Although there is a huge tendency of cases also in Canada, but if you start a case, you will see that it mostly resolves within the 5 years from the commencement of the case because they have strict timelines on how the case will proceed from the stage of commencement until the date of trial. So within like 20 days, when you have your statement of claim prepared, you serve it. You still have to serve it within a certain period of time after the service. The defendant has 20 days to put his statement of defense. So everything is very much within a prescribed timeline. If you miss your timeline, then you can be noted in default. So this is what I think in India, that timelines are not uh, very specific, or sometimes they're absolutely missing. So that in that sense, there's a huge pendency, and you can just go in front of the judge and easily get those adjournments. So it is more structured in Canada compared to what it is in India.
Yes, that sounds good if we see the legal systems of both the countries. So, sir, if I talk about as a student's perspective who wants to take admission there in the University of Toronto, so what is the procedure of getting admitted there?
So so back in 2021, I haven't looked at it anytime recently, but back in 2021, it is was that you have to write a statement of purpose. You need recommendation letters from your professors, or if you are a working professional, then one must be from your employer or someone who you work with, a close working colleague. Besides that, they also want your transcripts. So transcripts of all your law school that you have to prepare and send to the admissions office. And lastly, I believe that you also have to send them a CV, right? A CV is very different from a resume. And I see a lot of law students making this mistake, is that they send in just this plain resume which they use for jobs, but that's not what a CV is. A CV is more detailed, and it's more academic in its purpose. So you have to make sure that you also include all the publications, you include everything that makes your resume or your CV seems like it's geared for an academic success. So that's the difference. And I don't know. I don't think besides this, there's anything else you require to put in your application. Um, when you put in your application, they might come back to you. The most colleges do, and they ask you for additional documents, and they might have some questions for you, so you might have to provide an explanation letter. In my case, what happened was that my transcripts, University of Delhi is very notorious for not giving people high grades. Like I believe, if you score above 60% in University of Toronto, which is considered first class, so you are one of the you're within the one percentile, top 1 percentile of your class. So for me, I and 60% here is something which is considered very low. So I have to put in an explanation letter to the admissions committee and explain why my 60% is not what they believe it is to be, right? And 60% in University of Toronto uh, with, makes me a candidate that's within top 1 percentile of my class. So that's how the procedure or the application process works at University of Toronto.
So, what will you advise, or what are your advice to the candidates who are planning to study abroad? Like, what kind of preparations they should do for a better living and a better study there? If someone is going from India, just an example.
So if you're coming here as a student, I would say that uh, you should be prepared for new challenges. First of all, the Canada as a country in recent times has become very expensive. So you have to come prepared with a mindset that things will be expensive for you. Uh, and you should also be open to new challenges and be very uh, committed to your cause. So if you have challenges, struggles, make sure that you hold your ground and uh, and try to face those challenges head on. Um, in terms of uh, in terms of academic, I believe that it's it's not good. It's not difficult for many students if you spend your time judiciously in library or maybe at home, doing your homework, your assignments. and studying after classes. It is not a big challenge, but it's something that you have to make time for. Some students come here, they think, oh, we're from India. We have heard that the Western education is not so rigorous, but that's a myth. It is very rigorous in terms of you have many assignments. I remember that I had assignments, uh, like two deadlines in a week sometimes, and you have to write 30 pages of research paper and so on and so forth. So it can be very rigorous. So come mentally prepared, and then uh, come with the willingness to learn new things and have a very well, I would say that don't get bogged down by pressure, by the struggles or challenges you face.
Am I audible to sir? Yes.
Yes.
So if we talk about कि इंडिया में तो बच्चे अगर as you said that ड्यू में मार्क्स लाना थोड़ा difficult हो जाता है बच्चों के लिए and if we see in abroad so they consider it as a low percentage if we talk about the 60% as you have stated. So sir, what do you think that what kind of if someone is coming from India to Canada, so what kind of an environment change a person may face in terms of culture and if someone is going for the first time abroad just for the studies.
So, first of all, I would say that when you come to abroad, it's a cultural shock. You cannot deny that because it's a different culture. I even when I was here, I'm very well educated, and even I had to hear from other Canadians about few things that bothered them about my the way I'll give you an example. I'll give you a very example. It's not my fault. So, when Canadians walk, since it's a very big country and there's not a big population, they tend to have a big separation between two people. Like you cannot walk very close to another person in Canada. They become very alert and threatened that you're walking very close to them. You have to keep a level of separation, even if it's your friend. So as an Indian, and I'm from Delhi, so populated and dense, I was walking very close to my friends, the Canadian friends, and they're like, you're too close to me. So it's a cultural shock in that sense. There are many other things you also have to adapt. Is that the Canadian life is very different from the life in India. It's people are more reserved. People are more into themselves. It's an individualistic society. So, uh, like in India, especially in Delhi, where you have so many friends, people around you, something or other is happening all the time, right? It's not like that in Canada. So you have to uh, come to grips with that reality that the culture has been very different. Indian culture is very different, and there are few things you cannot say. There are few things you have to say. You have to say it in a certain manner. You cannot say that very directly. So of course they have to. It's little details that everyone has to notice. When you are in this country and you pick up eventually, and then you have to inculcate those habits into your daily routine.
So if any introvert student goes there and as you have said that they keep a distance while walking, so it would be that if a person is introvert, they'll take it by heart that I cannot survive there because it takes time to develop a kind of a bond with the person who's living there, and there are cultural differences. I agree with you. So, sir, what is the scope if we talk about one wants to study in Canada? So, what's the scope there if we go with the career?
Well, so the scope is well, I would say the scope is there for people who are willing to put in the hard work and the effort. So the scope is there definitely. But I've seen in recent years that this because of the whole cost of living crisis. the housing crisis, the levels of immigration, and also these countries are not doing great, especially these Western countries are not doing particularly as great as they were doing in the past, and like let's say 10 years or a decade ago. The opportunities and the scope has dwindled over time. It has gone down, but there is still scope for people. So if you want to come to Canada and pursue your legal career, it has become more challenging for newcomers and law students who want to come to Canada. Um, but if you are one of those brilliant people and you have um, that fire in you, then of course you can find those opportunities.
Yes, sir. So obviously, if someone have that zeal to do anything, they can survive in the river itself. So, sir, if is there any kind of scholarship does the University of Toronto provides to the other country student, or it's just the normal procedure to get admitted there?
So there are a number of scholarships that University of Toronto provides to international students. There's It's a long list of scholarships. So University of Toronto itself, the graduate program, which means that the the University of Toronto at a different level, at a higher level, at a graduate level, provides many scholarships to international students, irrespective of their nationality and which field they're pursuing as a master's student. So those are, I would say, more general scholarships that are provided by the university. And then there are a few law-specific scholarships that are also provided by the University of Toronto Law School, and it is also a big list of scholarships. So there are many opportunities for people to get a scholarship if they're looking at the right places.
Okay, so last but not least, that any advice you would like to share with the students who would like to study internationally and who are aspiring to work there, who wants to start their career and settle down in abroad. So, what would you like to advise?
So, in conclusion, I'll keep it very brief, but I'll try to highlight few points that I have recently seen from recent graduates, particularly international students. So, if you want to come and you view LLM as an opportunity to learn and grow and build connections and get the right kind of exposure, then that's a very good thing. You see it as it is, right? Don't look at it as an opportunity or another avenue to permanently settle in Canada, because the rules around immigration laws in Canada have changed drastically. I know a few people from India who came here with the dream that they will be granted the permanent residency after completing their education here in Canada. Though they were actually law students, but they couldn't do it because the immigration laws have changed so much that that dream, that opportunity was taken away from them by the government. So if you want to come here and want to have that exposure, like I said, learning, make connections, then definitely come here. It's a very good opportunity or an avenue for law students to get that. But if your sole purpose is to settle here, become a lawyer, and have a practice, then you might have to revisit your strategy because it does not happen for everybody. If you want to be a permanent resident in Canada, it requires a very particular and very specific strategy, uh, which involves talking to professions like immigration lawyers and consultants and having a solid strategy in place, which helps you become a permanent resident. Even then, the laws change so quickly and suddenly that that strategy also needs retweaking, and sometimes the strategy just falls apart. So there's a risk, right? So in the end, I would just say that, um, like I said, the LLM is a fantastic course. If you want to do it, do it. But the immigration dream is very separate from that, and you have to be very aware that it might not be for everybody.
And so one most important question what everyone thinks before stepping into something, going abroad, and what are the earnings? How do they earn that? What amount of a particular earnings a person can have there?
Listen, and this is a very also another interesting part of the question is that if I say my salary is $90,000, let's say, I would say 60 rupees is equal to one Canadian dollar. So if you do the math, I don't know what my math is really poor now. Although it was really good at one point of time. So that comes out to be 54 lakhs, if I'm right, 54
It's
lakhs
around
Indian
that.
rupees. Yeah. So people would say, you know what, he's earning 54 lakhs. That's a very good salary in terms of Indian rupee. But you have to also factor in the cost of living and the rising cost of living and the how it has skyrocketed, after COVID. It has come to a levels, at least in Canada, where people are making, let's say, $5,000 a month. They're paying $2,500 in rent. Okay, they're paying another $500 in groceries, and they're paying some part of it in tax, some other expenses. Bear in mind, if you have a car and you're working and you're commuting to work, which most people do, right? In Canada, the public transport is bad. So if you have a car, you have a car payment of another $400, and on top of it, you have $300 or $400 of insurance, which is mandatory in Ontario. So it becomes really expensive. You might be earning 54 lakhs, but at the end of the day, you might be taking home, let's say, 50 to $60,000. So, and then even then, there are unexpected expenses. So, uh, if people are only looking at the money and thinking that it's a lot of money, I'll go to Canada or US and earn a lot of money, you will earn a lot of money. The expenses are also high. So it might, for some people, I know my colleagues who stayed back in India and now are working at good law firms, their savings at a few times is more than mine. It could happen like that. So just bear that in mind when you're making your decision. Don't just look at money and the salary in a silo. Don't just separate it from the cost of living. Also factor in the cost of living and what your dreams are eventually if you want to buy a house, which could be the house prices are very expensive where most Canadians, there was a report that more than 50% of the Canadians don't ever dream of buying a house because the house prices are so high. They're not coming down. So if you have other dreams as well, you need to factor them before making a very sound decision.
Okay, so that sounds really good, and thank you so much, sir, for sparing time to be with us. And on behalf of my whole team and to the students who are aspiring to go there and study there, I extend my heartfelt thank to you. So, thank you so much.